Fuck things. This is We Have Concerns. Hi, Jeff Cannata.
Hi, Anthony Carboni.
Hello, concerned citizens. We
Anthony,
talk a lot. No, you go. No, you go.
I went for it.
No, you go. I think I went last week. You go.
Anthony, it's the holiday season.
It is the holiday season. It is.
And you know what that means to me, Anthony? It means a lot of things. But one of those things is I'm going to be consuming a lot more cookies.
Yeah, I knew it would come down to that for you. Let me tell you something without spoiling too much, Jeff. This is going to be a real food-centric episode because of the holidays.
Oh, good. I hope we didn't pick the same story.
We did not. I can already tell we did not.
All right. Yeah, we've already made this last weekend. My wife and my kids got together. My wife had a nice little activity for the kids. They made the traditional holiday sugar cookies with frosting in wonderful shapes, snowman shapes, Christmas tree shapes.
Do you make the real softy ones, or do you make them the kind of chewy? How does she like to make them?
These ones she made a little crispier than I would probably go with. They were very thin and crispy.
Yeah, like a little crunchy, bite on a sugar cookie. That's my girl.
I'm much more into the soft. I like a soft sugar cookie personally. But these are quite tasty.
Like a 3 a.m. I'm depressed. I'm going into the grocery store and I'm buying a box of frosted goop.
No, not. There's like
not
those
that
like
soft.
Ralph's, like you're eating a pillow or a cloud.
Like super soft. Yeah,
that's too much. Somewhere in between, like a chewier, softer, but not a snapping, crunching cookie.
I wish almost every cookie, except for maybe just a traditional chocolate chip, had the bite and texture of a ginger snap. I think that's perfect cookie. I think that's perfect cookie. Like a little bite.
I like basically a little underbaked. I like take it out of the oven like a minute earlier than you should. And that's what I want. I want like a soft, almost doughy.
Yeah, I used to be a big gooey cookie fan. I don't know what happened. I used to go to remember when Subway would put their cookies through the oven for you? I used to have them put it through for a little shorter than usual. There was like a Subway next to the movie theater I worked at, and I used to order myself a goopy cookie as a treat. I don't know what happened, but something happened where I transitioned into wanting a little bite.
All right. I like a little variety too. I don't want everything to be the same. Regardless of that fact.
Yeah, no, this is what the episode's about now.
The episode's about which is the best cookie. I've been enjoying
vote
these
on
cookies.
what the best cookie is in the Discord. What's the best texture for a cookie?
Best texture.
Yeah.
I love the homemade cookie. My wife made all the dough from scratch. It was really lovely. It was wonderful. The flour and the mixer, all that jazz. But then she came to the moment that we can all recognize when you've got the dough. You got it all rolled out on the table or the cookie sheet or whatever you're doing. Yeah. And you're going to press down your cookie cutters of various delightful shapes. And you want to make sure you are maximizing your surface area, right? You want to try to find the positioning of how to get the most cookies from all of the surface area you've got of dough, right? You want to minimize the space between.
Because you want to, unless you're talking about that Dave Matthews song, and then you want to play it on repeat over and over and over again.
And you maximize the space between.
You maximize that volume. You maximize that. You go outside, you lay on a blanket, you look up at the stars. Yeah, are you a college freshman? Yes, you are.
There is the Dave Matthews exception to every rule.
Right. And it's known in the mathematics community as well.
It is,
when you're maximizing surface area, there is the Dave Matthews exception. One thing that you do want to maximize that, because if you don't, you may say to yourself, well, I'm just going to, I'll punch my cookie shapes and then I'll re-roll the dough and then roll it back out. But the more you do that, the stiffer your cookie dough becomes, because you're exercising all that gluten and you're making the cookie too stiff and too weird.
Exactly. So this is the situation. How do you, on a 2D surface, maximize the number of things you can pack into that space and minimize the wasted space around them? And it turns out, this article that I've been reading is there's been some new analysis of this problem. there was a study that was recently released that says something very interesting to me. Something that would have been
you're really looking for the study.
No, I was trying to find the place.
You're really scrolling.
It says Assistant Professor Mikhail Abramson of the Department of Computer Science, but it doesn't say from where. From where? It doesn't matter. The point is, Assistant Professor Mikhail Abramson says that, according to their study, this is impossible to know. Impossible to know.
That's stupid. No, it can't be impossible to know. It's a circle.
It is an
you got a square
solvable problem at a certain point. Yes, this is fascinating to me. So even using computers and algorithms, if you take a square, a square surface, if you're looking like cookie dough made out of perfect squares, 1x1 squares, right?
Yeah.
And you have dough that is also a square, and you want to find out the maximum or the smallest amount of dough to get the maximum cookies. You can do it up to 10. You can do it up to 10 cookies. But once you hit 11 cookies, once you hit 11 squares, it is impossible to know.
Why?
It is impossible to know the most efficient way to cut 11 squares out of a square.
It sounds like this professor was in the midst of figuring this out and hit his deadline and was ready to go on holiday break and was just like, yeah, I ran all the math on this. It just doesn't work. I can take another look at it after the new year if you want, but I'm telling you, it just doesn't work. And then he just fucking left. He put on his hat and his coat and he fucking Abe Simpsoned out of there.
The truth is that once you get beyond 11, you get to 11 1x1 square inches or meters or whatever you want to use as a scale, and you want to put it into a square box, the best computers could never calculate what it would take to find the optimal space. It says, based on the speed at which computing power is growing, it will probably take millions of years before we're able to optimize the handling of just a few additional objects.
Jeff, I'm picturing it in my head right now. You got one square. You got one big square of cookie dough, right? That's what you got. You got one giant quadrilateral area of cookie dough, right? And then you've got, for whatever reason, this guy decided to be super lazy and he did square cookies, which nobody fucking does.
Oh, I'm gonna get to beyond square cookies in a second.
And so he decided you've got one big square and you've got 11 little squares, and there's just no way we can know how to put the 11 squares in there. That's stupid.
We know lots of ways we can put them in there.
Yeah.
No, we know lots of ways we can put them in there. It's impossible to know the best way to put them in there. It is impossible to calculate the optimal shape. Now, I've forwarded you this article. Check out this link. The current orientation that is deemed to be the best for 11 squares inside a square is bonkers. Like, looking at it, you go, there's no universe in which that's the best. There's no universe, but that's our current estimation. And that was developed by human beings.
I get it. No, okay. So to describe what's going on here, they have two squares, and the first one, like, let's say they have five cookies that are going to be squares, right?
Yeah.
What they do is they put one in each corner, and then in the middle, they use that exact middle, tilt the square so it's a diamond, and use all of that unused space to make the fifth one. Now, you take those cookie sizes in half, so you can make 11 delicious cookies instead of just the 5. And what they've done is wildly Tetris,
that one.
And it's great.
Describe that one.
So what you've got, if you're imagining Tetris, you've got, like, on the top edge of the square, you've got one of those, like, L pieces, and the long end is going off to the left. And so you've got, like, 3 squares on the top of a four square grid filled, then one square on the second.
It's not quite a 4 square grid. That's the problem, is that 4 squares can't fit
Oh
can't
my
really-
gosh, I just saw what you're talking about. Whoa,
See, look,
okay.
everything is just off slightly.
All right. So I'm going to describe
It's
this though.
crazy.
So you've got the L shape, and you've done it flat. So up at the top, you've got 3 squares. Then underneath it, you've got 1 square on the far right. Okay, your bottom 2 corners are filled. Then they've got 5 cookies tilted all wild in the middle. But here's the thing that gets crazy. That initial L that I talked about has a tiny division between 2 of the squares where one of the tiniest, tippiest corners bisects the little. This is wild, and this is why I'm saying, Jeff, what do you mean we haven't found the most optimal way? That's optimal.
First of all, bravo on trying to explain that. It is a
Nobody
crazy
understood
image.
it. We're just clicking. There's a description you're gonna have to click.
You're gonna have to click and you're gonna have to look because it's so counterintuitive to me that would be efficient in any universe. But this is what the closest we've come to most efficiency. But okay, so here's the problem: is that once you get past 10, and you get into that odd number 11, like a 10 is easy, right? 5 by 5 grid, boom. Once
Love
you
it.
get to 11, you got to fit that extra 1 in. The number of options that you have of rotating the cookie, rotating the squares, placement of the squares, like this example shows the perfect example where like, oh, we just can nudge it over slightly. The number of variables expands what he says beyond exponentially to the point where it's nearly infinite and therefore beyond not even beyond the capability of computers, beyond the expression of algorithms. Like we don't have the ability in mathematics to express an algorithm this complicated.
So I guess what you're saying is the answer is there are almost infinitesimal tiny nudges and permutations that can be made. And so the difference in efficiency between those near infinite permutations is so small that it would be impossible for a computer without crunching a million billion infinite numbers to be like, well, this one is the most efficient because there are so many efficient answers that are so close to being equal.
Exactly. The idea is that we don't even have an equation. We don't have an algorithm that we could just
what's the
plug
right
into
amount
a
of
computer.
frosting per cookie? You know what I'm saying? Does the computer know that?
That's step 2, right? We haven't even gotten step 1. That's step 2. And then what's the best angle to eat them? You know, do you bite the head off the gingerbread man, or you go bottom first or sidesies? I don't know. I always go ahead of the gingerbread man.
I cut the gingerbread man in a diagonal.
You're a monster.
Because I'm a monster.
He says it is known that such a solution cannot always be written down using regular arithmetic operations. And he says our study proves that the problem has a nature that we in mathematics refer to as continuous, which in a nutshell means that one must know all of the coordinates at which the cookies can be placed and all of the angles at which they can be rotated. And because that is so close to being infinite, there's no way to create that list. So you can't brute force this. You literally can't brute force it, or at least we don't have computers. And he says we won't have computers for millions of years that can brute force it. So what you need is actually to have analysis. Which is what human beings do, not computers.
This is the traveling salesman problem, right? This cookie thing is the traveling salesman problem. Problem is you've got a traveling salesman that's got a bunch of traveling salesmen that have to visit a bunch of different cities, and what's the most efficient way?
Yeah. So if you got a traveling salesman that has to go round trip, he has to get back to home at the end, but he has to hit 15 points on a map.
Right.
Calculate the most efficient route across all these points to get me back home in the least amount of distance traveled. That is what is referred to as NP, which is basically a division of complexity, computational complexity. That is it's as hard as the hardest thing we know. It doesn't get It's hard. It's as hard as everything else that's hard. Well, this dude is saying that this thing, that the cookie problem, or really it's beyond cookie problem, right? It's packaging, it is how do we cut materials from a fabric or a sheet metal? It's something that would be very, very useful to a lot of industries to have. The least amount of waste from the most amount of useful things.
Yeah.
But he's saying that this problem is actually harder, more computationally complex and difficult to solve than the traveling salesman problem.
I mean, this is why we don't have flying cars and the cure for the common cold and all this stuff, is because everything is infinitely harder than you think.
Yeah.
Everything is more complex than you think. The level of complexity of anything, even something that you know about, when you sit down to do it, is at least 3 to 4 times harder than you think it's going to be.
Yeah.
At least. It's not a single thing I've ever sat down to do that hasn't taken me at least twice as much time as I thought it was going to do.
Yeah, man.
And this right here is just like, hey man, let's just cut up some cookies in the best way we can.
So here's my question to you. Do you find this overwhelming and discouraging, or do you find it actually encouraging in the sense that there's no right way, right? It's just, you just kind of have to cut some cookies.
Yeah. One of the things that I deal with all the time, that I think a lot of people do, but I deal with the ADHD thing, is a lot of time if I sit down and think, and it doesn't seem like I have the most optimal way to do something or the most optimal solution in mind, it becomes a thing where I look at it and I'm like, there's no good way to do this. There's no good way to, like, I can't figure out the best way to do this. So why would I do it? I can't do it. And it's kind of nice to know that, fuck it, man. You can't even cut up cookies, right? So you might as well do something hard. Like something as easy as cutting up cookies is like an impossible computation. So go out and do whatever it is you meant to do.
Well, the cool takeaway for me for this is that we're sitting here on the precipice of machine learning and AI and all that stuff kind of taking over and doing everything better than humans can do. And here is this study which states that here's something that computers literally cannot do better than humans. Like, we have to, what is the differentiator here is that the computer will try to brute force every possible angle. And a human being will just throw out a huge number of the possibilities because it's dumb. They will use analysis, which is much harder to program into a computer. We will actually, just kind of create subsets to test. And so human beings are kind of better suited to solve something like this than a computer, even the high level computers that we've been able to invent so far.
Now, somebody can correct me if this is more complicated than it seems, or if this is not a good way to do this, but couldn't you tell computer with your infinite computational might, I want you to compute this for about 10 seconds, about the amount of time that a human would spend solving the problem. Within 10 seconds, whatever you find that's the best answer, just go with that one and go. Wouldn't that solve that a little bit? I
mean, I think we could, but I guess that's not really answering the mathematical question, which is what's the optimal placement, right?
It's definitely not.
That you would get an optimal placement, not the optimal placement. I think that's the distinction here, is there's no way to calculate the true absolute best way to do this.
Sure. And yes. And a human, listen, we could John Henry these cookies, and we could be proud of what we did. But if we're talking about, space luxury communism, then what we would do is we would tell the computer to spend 10 seconds on it while we sit back and we eat grapes that another computer is feeding us.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I do like this. I do like the idea that, hey, computers can't solve everything. They can't solve everything better than you. And also, you don't need to worry about everything being optimal as much as you do, maybe.
Yes, I think that's a really good takeaway too. He even goes into this idea of like, okay, I've shown you it's impossible with squares. If you want to talk about Christmas trees or gingerbread man, we're in an entirely new stratosphere of complicated.
Yeah. Yeah, because the simplest that I would want to solve this with would be a circle, right?
Yeah.
I think circle at the very least.
Sure, but I feel like the one that you should be able to just do is square, right? Square seems easy peasy lemon squeezy, right?
Absolutely. And to know that square is impossible, to even do square, I love this. Like, I love it.
Yeah, me too. The thing that blew my mind is, and I loved watching you discover it in real time, is the little teeny gap in that picture between the two squares at the top. Because you go, oh yeah, no, I see it. And then you go, oh crap, there's like something else going on here.
There was some real math that had to be done. They mathed the shit out of that.
Yes, exactly.
I love
and it is something I think about. I think we all, packing your car with stuff, or, trying to Tetris something into the closet or whatever it is. We do this all the time. And you sort of I just intuitively assume that there is a best way, right? I'm just not going to spend the time to think about it, but I'm sure there's a best way. And to think, no, there actually isn't a one true best way.
See, my problem is I spend all the time thinking about it. And then I'm like everything from how do these things all go into a drawer in the best way, to what is the overall organizational system, to what is, like, I think about this all the time about everything. It's a problem. And this is a good reminder not to do that, Anthony.
Yeah.
Hey, Anthony, what if what if just put everything in the drawer and cool the fuck out?
Exactly. Math is saying, bro, we ain't even able to computate this.
Math is saying,
so
hey, man,
stress, bro. Don't stress.
Throw on that Dave Matthews album.
Yeah.
Lay out on a blanket in the stars and don't think about the space between.
Dude,
listen to the space between.
Don't even get me started on the whole ants marching problem. That is much more difficult to compute.
You think it's hard to figure out how salesmen do it? What about these ants marching? You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying. Hey, everyone. We're an award-winning science comedy podcast.
Indeed we are.
It's stupid. You want to talk about people not making a perfect choice? We at one point won an award twice, I think, for best science podcast. Now, isn't that worth money to you?
I think it is. I think it's just, surprisingly, the award itself came with no monetary reward. But that's where you come in,
scorn,
dear
if I
listener.
remember correctly. Came with a little bit of scorn, if I'm honest.
Did come with scorn. And a lot of that came from us. Honestly, we scorned ourselves. We were shocked we won.
It was a real Groucho Marx situation. We were like, come on.
Yeah.
Did they cancel Star Talk? Are you sure? Does Radiolab... Did Radiolab die? Did Radiolab
Were
die?
they somehow ineligible for this award?
Did someone kill Radiolab?
Are we implicated in the murder of Radiolab? Ladies and gentlemen listening, this is where you come in, right? Because no matter how many awards we get, it doesn't put food on our table.
We've gotten 2, and so far there's been no money.
But you can support the show the only way we support the show. No ads, no funny business. The only way we support the show is through your donations. And the good news is your donations can get you more stuff, more parts of the show, more fun interactions with us. Do you want to hear those cool conversations that we talk, or we're just ending at the beginning of the show? You can. We give them away every week to our patrons.
That's a separate show. We also have our Discord, which for just $1 a month or more, you can be a member of our Discord community, which is a very lovely place to be. You can get early episodes. You can get monthly hangouts on cam with me and Jeff. You can get all kinds of wonderful things, and they're all available at patreon.com/wehaveconcerns. Thank you for your continued support We really appreciate it.
Indeed.
And now it's time to continue the holiday gluttony special.
Woo!
This is
I
what I'm
love
calling
this time
this.
of year.
I'm calling it the Holiday Gluttony Special. And we talk about this particular possible future a lot, Jeff, and we are one step closer to it. This is from Charlotte 6K in the We Have Concerns subreddit. No-kill lab-grown meat to go on sale for the first time.
Ooh, but I've heard it's so expensive. This is going to be one of those like $500 per pound meats.
No, apparently not. This is the first company to get it down. It's still not as cheap as an actual life. Life is cheap, Jeff.
Yeah.
Life is very cheap.
True.
Ending a life, incredibly cheap.
So cheap. So
creating
easy,
something
really.
that approximates life, incredibly expensive.
Much more difficult. Yes.
Much more difficult. But this is cultured meat. So this is meat that's produced in a bioreactor without any animal having to die.
Sounds delicious. Is this a rum pum pum dumpa situation? Do I need to rum pum 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 pum? Welcome to the no kill future. Dun, 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 dun. Are we there?
Well, I think we're still years away from a no kill future. Centuries.
We're still lots more
looking
killing
at
to
the
be
news. Yeah. Basically, this is a company called Eat Just. Now, they're a United States company, and you might be familiar with the name because if you are vegetarian or you are flexitarian, you're trying to limit your impact, whatever it is, you may know them from their vegetarian and vegan mayonnaise, other products like that they sell. I used to have a couple of Eat Just things in the fridge when I was vegetarian.
Is flexitarian where you don't eat meat, but then you brag about it all the time? Is that what that is?
Yeah, that's where you flex on people because you're like, I am better for the planet than you.
That's what I thought. Okay,
That's
I just wanted to be clear.
Flexitarian, the technical definition is somebody who does like, maybe you do like a couple days a week meatless, or you try to do 2 meals a day and all your snacks meatless or something like that. You're just somebody who's trying to lower it. It's honestly, it really is a way for people to flex. Because it's just saying that I'm trying to eat less meat, but you're trying to give yourself a cool designation for it, if I can be real.
Because baby stepsitarian didn't sound so good?
Yeah. I'm trying to do a little better-tarian is like not impressive. You know what I mean?
Gotcha.
But the reason this is important is in industrialized nations and richer nations especially, we are all eating more meat than is healthy for us and the planet.
Well, that's for sure. We know that to be true.
We put too much meat into every meal to the detriment of our own health and to the planet. And they say that cutting meat consumption is maybe the best single environmental action that a person can take.
We've known that for a long time, right? That as much as we talk about lowering vehicle emissions, which is still important,
it's huge.
That if everybody just decided not to eat beef, we would do far better. That we could have the most polluting cars and planes and trucks and all of that could go crazy.
We could
if we
run
just
around
stopped
with
eating
flamethrowers, burning tires if we wanted. And all you got to do is not eat meat. But guess what? It's delicious and people love it. And we're built to eat it.
Yeah.
You can look at our teeth. You look at our teeth and it's like, man, that guy, look at that teeth. That teeth is made to chew a meat.
Yeah.
That's what people say.
Yeah.
Made to chew a
those
meat.
aren't made for carrots. Come on.
Nah. I mean, there are a couple made for carrots in there, but look at the meat ones.
Yeah.
There are some that are made for carrots, but look at the meat ones that are in there.
Ignore those bell pepper teeth and check out those meat teeth. Woo, doggy meat teeth.
The other great thing about meat that's cultivated in bioreactors, other than getting rid of all of the emissions and waste, I mean, 60% of all of the agricultural crops on the planet are used to feed our livestock crops.
Yeah.
So that's pretty wild.
Super
when you
wasteful.
think about Yeah. So above and beyond that, we also get rid of bacterial contamination from animal waste, cross-contamination in our own food, which is an issue.
Yeah.
We also get rid of the overuse of antibiotics and hormones in animal meat to make sure that we're producing enough animal meat, right? Lab-grown meat, all we got to do is make a matrix of meat and everything is fine.
All right, you've sold me.
Yeah.
But now sell me, because I need to know how this process happens, because you used words like cultivated and bioreactor. And I'm curious about the processes by
Sure.
which the meat is made because,
You want to know how the sausage is made.
Exactly. You've sold me on all the upsides. I'm in on saving the planet and getting to continue to eat meat and still not, destroy wantonly all the crap that, sustains my life and existence. But does it give me the heebie-jeebies about how it is made?
Now, let me tell you something, Jeff. Yes, it does. But if I can be honest with you, so would go into a slaughterhouse. So it's 6 of one, half dozen of the other. You know what I mean?
Very good point. Very good point.
So here's what's up. We got dozens of these firms that are trying to create cultivated chicken, beef, and pork. The way that Eat Just does it is they have a 1,200 liter bioreactor. Now, the bioreactor is basically, you can just imagine a big tank. When you think about cells being grown in a petri dish, if you've ever seen stem cells being grown in a petri dish or anything like that, any kind of cells, if you've done projects in biology classes where you've watched cells replicate, that's basically what's going on. So they get a 1,200 liter tank, basically, and then they get cells from a living chicken. They're from biopsies of living chickens. No chickens are killed. They're just biopsies. And then they're put into a growth medium. It's a serum, basically. They're floating in a, and I'll get to what the serum is made of. You just let me explain the process. We'll deal with what the serum is in a moment, Jeff.
Yeah, no, that's a good word to use, though. Serum makes it sound yummy.
We're going to use this serum. Imagine it like a delicious corn syrup that the cells eat. Just like you. Okay. You eat mostly corn syrup.
I love corn syrup, but I don't call it corn serum.
Well, we should call it corn serum because maybe it's more no, it's not more accurate. It's a syrup. So basically, these things, the cells just grow. They grow into just meat. They grow into chicken cells. They grow into chicken meat.
Stop asking dumb questions. It's just meat.
Well, because look, it's not like they have pictures of how it looks in the tank. I think Eat Just is kind of like, you're not ready. But what basically happens...
Does anybody use the word pulsating at any point? Because
negative Ghost Rider. Good. There is no pulsating because remember, this meat is not grown with a circulatory system. This meat is not grown with organs. This meat is not grown it's just basically meat. Cultivated. It's tissue. It's muscle tissue that they're replicating.
And then all they need to do is turn a giant crank, which elevates a platform up to the top on a dark and stormy night for the lightning to strike it. And once that process is complete, the meat is ready for Chicky nugs.
That's what you get. You get that chicky nugs. So no, basically it grows the tissue, it grows the muscle tissue, and then they mix it with some plant products to give it more texture and beef it up a little bit. And then beef it up. And then they serve it as, these are going to be chicken bites, and they have been approved in Singapore. Even though this is a U.S. country, Singapore is the first country to approve this process.
All right. So not
Singapore.
Approved in the U.S. yet is the bottom line.
Now, not approved in the U.S. yet. U.S. company.
U.S.
not
company,
approved in the U.S.
Here. All right.
Not approved here.
Singapore, though.
Now, let's talk about the serum.
Okay.
Now, the growth medium, the serum, does include some fetal bovine serum, some fetal bovine blood.
So we need to kill baby calves?
Does require some fetal blood, not even calves. It requires blood from the fetuses of cows.
Okay.
Now,
all right.
There are two things that Eat Just wants us to know. Number one, the fetal blood is largely removed before consumption.
Largely. Yeah, you're eating so little fetal blood.
You're really eating a very small amount of fetal blood. And the reason they want you to know this, you can barely know that the fetal blood is in there.
It's almost completely undetectable.
like a restrained and classy sacrificial ritual. You can barely tell that the fetal blood is there.
It's just a soupçon of fetal blood.
Now,
just the tiniest hint.
Eat Just does say that there is a a plant-based serum that they can and will use in the next production line, but it wasn't available when the Singapore approval process began 2 years ago. So Singapore has approved.
They had all this fetal blood lying around, and they're not going to use it?
Yeah. So Singapore, they sent Singapore the process of fetal blood. And if I can be honest, I bet that's why it didn't get American approval. America does not like anything that says fetal blood, fetal stem cells, fetal anything like that.
We
don't like
non-starter.
it. Bit of a non-starter. Even if it's a bovine fetal blood, people are kind of like, you know what? You said blood, and we don't like admitting that there's blood in our food.
Right.
What? So anyway, Singapore approves the process. After Singapore approved the process, they perfected the all plant-based version. So that's ready to go. It's probably going to take another 2 years for Singapore to approve that version of the process.
All right.
Now, the other issue with this is, of course, the one that you brought up in the beginning, which is cost.
Yeah, that's the biggest question, right? Because so far we've heard about the hamburger that costs $5,000, right? Tastes like a hamburger, didn't involve any killing, but it's basically too expensive to be mass produced. This has somehow solved that problem.
Yeah, it's not. I mean, these chicken nugs are not going to be $5,000. They are going to be more than chicken
McDonald's
nuggets are. Like, I don't think they're saying exactly how much yet, because I have a feeling there will be a little bit of sticker shock. We could be talking about like a $10 plate of chicken nugs, a $20 plate of chicken nugs. I don't know.
Right. Yeah.
But they do say that, like, hey, we need to start selling chicken nugs, because if we don't, we can never start recouping the costs of the creation of this process. And we can't scale this thing up to the point where emissions wise and cost wise, we see the savings that we want to see from lab grown meat.
We spent all our seed capital on bovine fetal blood.
Yeah, we spent all our fetus capital. We spent all of our fetal capital. And now we need more money. So, I mean, this makes a lot of sense, though, right? Is because you can only do so many experiments. You can only do so many trials. You can only show this thing off so many times before you need to start recouping these costs. So the other thing that this means is that if you're buying these in Singapore, it's either because, number one, you want to eat the environmentally conscious product, or number two, well, no, that's the number one reason. But I guess number two is you like the novelty of it. And either way, you're willing to pay this premium in the beginning.
Yeah. Well, and correct me if I'm wrong here, but this is not like, Beyond Beef or Impossible Burger or everything, where it's like, oh, does it taste? How close does it get? This is actual meat, right? So there's no, does it taste like meat? It is meat, right?
So yeah, it's definitely meat. There are some plant products that are added in to, like I said, basically to make sure there's more of it, to make sure there's enough of it to be viable. But yeah, it's meat. It's meat. And you are eating it. Hey, it's meat! Exclamation point TM. There's no difference.
Meat. We made it.
We did it. We made it. Dude, eat the fucking meat, my guy. Like, you wanted a plate of meat and you had no problems with it the past way. Yeah. This way is a problem for you. Eat the fucking meat.
It is funny if you think about it in reverse. If this seems kind of disgusting when you describe it, but if it was the inverse, right? If somehow humanity had evolved first to create meat in a lab, and then somebody was like, we could just bring all these animals into a room, slice them up, and you could eat that. We'd be like, what the fuck?
No, it turns out we ran the numbers, and the easiest way to have enough meat for everyone is just to end the life of living things.
Yeah.
Oh. No, I don't know. I don't know about that. No. Hear me out. We've been making meat in the bioreactors, and that's been good, and it's delicious and everything, and we all love it. But what if I told you we could just kill thousands of animals and eat their flesh?
Well, that sounds horrible. But did you say something
It's
about the
meat.
40
It's
piece?
just meat.
Did you say something about the 40-piece Chicky McNugs costing like $2?
Well, see, now that's where it's at. I could give you a box of 40 Chicky Nugs, 3 dipping sauces, $6.99.
Yeah, now kill everything. Yeah,
Kill
kill it all.
everything, burn it down, slash it up. Yeah, I mean, this is sort of the thing. It's a weird thing to get over, and I think the idea here is these are not products that will be on sale forever. The idea is you serve these products to people. You say this is ethically created meat. It's mixed with 30% plant products, and the idea is this eventually moves more people over to a vegan lifestyle or a vegetarian lifestyle. It's not the idea that in the future we're going to have vertical farms that look like a meat matrix, though maybe we do. I don't know. We often tend to pick the grossest, worst version of the future we can.
Yeah.
But the idea is this will get people more comfortable with meat alternatives and a more plant-based diet over time.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And this is theoretically much better for the environment, right? We remove the need for all of these crops that are grazed upon by animals. We remove all of the pollution that, the methane that we get from all these animals. We remove all these layers that are fucking with our planet.
Water usage, crop usage, hormones, chemicals, land, just the sheer amount of land it takes to do this. And we return a huge portion of that 60% of the plant biomass on the planet back into the food supply for everyone, as opposed to the food supply for livestock, which immediately makes produce cheaper for everyone because everybody's buying and eating produce.
I know you're already a sort of vegetarian lifestyle. Would this kind of thing make you go back to eating meat, or do you have any sense of like when you're reading about this process?
No. So I eat meat now because my doctor basically told me my guy, eat some meat. And so I eat literally as much as I need to be healthy. But this is better. This sounds better to me. When I think about like industrial, when I think about agribusiness, when I think about industrial farming, if you watch a video, like if you watch one of those videos of farmers driving around in that chicken scooping truck that scoops up all the chickens, and then they literally just put the chickens into a thing that just carves up chickens. And it's a weird, getting our food is a weird, gross process already, the way we do it. People tend to think
Which
about
is why I don't think about it.
Yeah, well, that's exactly why when you walk into a grocery store in America, and this is something we've talked about before, everything is abstracted to the highest amount it can be. American butchers don't hang up whole chickens with the heads on them in the window, like they do, which is a normal thing in other, like they do in Asia, like they do in Europe, like they do in South America. North America is very unique in that respect, where it's like, hey, don't show me this is an animal.
Yeah. The first thing on any menu for me is cognitive dissonance.
Yeah. That's the amuse-bouche that keeps bouching. Now, so no, this doesn't freak me out. It fascinates me, and I don't think, like I said, it's I don't think it's a forever solution. It can't be. It's not a it's not that it's not sustainable in the way that agribusiness is sustainable. It's not sustainable in that it feels like a lot of effort and weirdness to get a plate of food. And I think
it's a transitional thing.
I think so. I think this is a thing where it's like, hey, just be cool eating less meat. And like maybe that helps a bit.
I mean, I kind of feel like if there's a future where this becomes efficient to the point of being scalable, I don't see why it couldn't replace the idea of farming. If it actually becomes economically viable and relatively inexpensive in comparison to buying real meat, and it helps save the planet. Like, what? I don't know. It feels like it's the solar electricity of food, you know?
Yeah. And I think I think you're right. I think there is an idea that, that sort of cyberpunk, not just the game, but the genre of, there's meat and then there's synth meat. Right.
Yeah.
And
right.
The regular people eat synth meat because synth meat is cheap and it's everywhere. And then it's Blade Runner, right? Is your owl real? Like that sort of thing. To where like maybe eating meat becomes more of a delicacy thing. And then this becomes like the cheap, easy way for everybody to get their 20-piece nugs. I don't know.
I think I'd be into that. I think that you can save the planet. Who knows? It's the kind of thing that could actually it could really move the needle on something if it becomes scalable. And we've already seen that people are willing to pay a premium to do the right thing, right? You have all kinds of organic foods that cost more. You have Impossible Burgers that cost double.
Sure. Kind of makes healthy eating classist, but that's where we are right now. And hopefully it trickles down.
Exactly. Yeah, one hopes. But I think that it doesn't necessarily mean that it's not viable at the start, right? Because people will pay a premium. And it's just, I think there's going to be a perception issue with the ooh factor, because people don't really have that when you say, it's a soy burger or it's made out of plants. People don't have that ooh of, we created flesh in a lab, Right.
This was made in my basement dungeon.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we put Bit-O chicken in box and turned up the heat, and now it's much larger Bit-O chicken. Yeah,
and when it achieves sentience, finally, when an eyeball accidentally grows in there, that's when we're gonna have problems. I think you're right. I think that ooh factor is going to be weird, and it's going to be about getting people over that cognitive dissonance of not understanding how gross their food is anyway.
Right. Well, I think that might be our saving grace, right? Is abstract this process as much as possible too. Mm-hmm. So if you're just getting a chicky nug, you're just getting a chicky nug, don't think about it.
Don't think about the nug.
Don't think about it. Don't think about the paste that's inside the breaded shell. Come on.
What is less gross to you? The lab-grown meat version of the chicky nug, or like the up until 5 years ago version of the chicky nug where it's like the chicken sludge that comes out of the pump tube?
I mean, clearly the sludge is way worse, right? Because I ate plenty of chicky nugs during the sludge years,
I grew up on chicky nugs.
Sure.
I grew up on the sludge. It's probably why I'm
raised
short.
On the sludge.
Raised on the sludge.
Raised on the sludge.
But that one's worse. But I think the reason why you started your sentence that way is because that one's worse, but the lab one also seems worse somehow.
Yes. It's because I think we have a bias against the fabricated, right? We have a bias because of all these ideas of playing God and creating an organic thing in a laboratory just sort of feels wrong. Mm-hmm. And maybe it is. Maybe it is.
I'm not here to tell you. Feels right to me.
I would try this. I would eat it. I wouldn't turn my nose up at it for sure.
Yeah. If I ever find myself in Singapore, or at the U.S. offices of Eat Just, and they want to slip me like an illegal nug. Because they can't sell them over here. But if you want to slip me like an illegal nug, I'll have an illegal nug. I'll see what it's about.
I'll have that nug. I'll try that nug on the homeland. Or if I happen to wake up disoriented in Singapore for some reason, I'll find my way to a Just nug dispensary. I don't know.
Oh, I hope they come out of like some future machine too. That'd be great.
Yeah.
I don't know. Concerned citizens, would you partake of the nug?
Eat the nug, yay or nay?
Yay or nay? You can let us know on Twitter. I'm at @Carboni.
I'm at Jeff Cannata.
But an even better place to let us know would be in our Discord. If you want to go do that, the best way to get access to the Discord is also the only way to get access to the Discord. And that's to head to patreon.com/wehaveconcerns and support the show for just $1 a month or more. But let us know if you'd hashtag partake of the nug.
Give us that nug. Give us that nug info. I'm excited. I want to see where this goes. I hope this makes it to the shores, to our lovely nation. I hope we get to see it here. It'll be interesting to see this process. And clearly, as you said, not the only company making these.
Do you want to know what I'm interested to see? I'm interested to see a computer presented with a flat, square surface of chicken meat, deciding how to perfectly cut the most nugs out of it.
How many nugs can we get? 40-piece nugs.
Okay, when I say it like that, lab grown's a little gross. Like, I get it.